Live from iRacing's virtual Autodromo Nazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, welcome sim racing fans to the next round of the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. It's round 10 from the track known as Imola. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth alongside Ellen O'Leary with Hugo Louise down in the virtual production trailer. And Ellen, we go from a very unique circuit of Zandvoort to a similar circuit here at Imola. High curbs, not a lot of runoff area with grass surrounding pretty much the entire speedway, and some more curveballs going to be thrown at these F3 drivers.
Yeah, exactly. Not dissimilar in any way, shape or form. Very, very difficult to overtake here once again. And we saw last week just how that can affect the racing. Drivers get desperate with these limited opportunities. They have to go for it at some point, and sometimes they come to blows. That's what we saw last time. Cyan Koide was able to take the victory on that occasion to make it two first-time race winners this season in the last 2 weeks. We'll see if we get another one today at Imola.
And taking a look at the schedule here for Season 3 of 2021 through iRacing. So this is an official series, which means it will end on the 12th week. We will not have a race on week 13. Here around 10 for Imola. Then we go to Red Bull Ring in 1 week's time. Then the week after that, for the final race of the season, will be at the famous Silverstone. So 3 tracks to finish off the calendar, 3 very unique ones at that, and now into the final 3 races of the season, all 3 current on the F1 calendar. Gonna be exciting to see the difference between those races and these races here in the sim with these Dallara F3 machines. And we are currently qualifying on the racetrack, and here's the standings. Taking a look at them now. Now, the point system a little bit different based on split because it is based on the I rating of the drivers. So Flavio Dantas currently holds the top spot. Adrian Falcon in second. Ralph Benitez, who is currently the fastest on the speed chart right now in qualifying, sits in third. Connor Wagner fourth, with Paulo Dreta rounding out the top 5. But Edwin, taking a look at the standings as they currently sit, a lot of familiar faces up at the front of the field in the standings, and a lot of those names correlate with the front drivers currently in the qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the championship leaders right up there at the moment with Felipe Dantas in second. Nearly tricked me there. Flavio Dantas is down in 5th at the moment. Adrian Falcon's just behind him in 6th. Obviously, we saw Benitez up there. He's in the top spot at the moment. But yeah, only 25 points separating Dantas and Falcon after this long season. Very, very impressive stuff indeed. It shows what an entertaining season it has been so far.
Leo Almeida goes up to the top of the charts now. In second place now as Gabriel Bortoletto goes up to the top of the speed charts in the number 16. Where's Adrian Falcon gonna land? He's coming across the start-finish line, improving from 8th. Is it going to be enough to take the lead? No, it is not. It is going to be enough to knock him back down into 10th and continuing to get knocked down to 12th as more cars come across the start-finish line to finish their laps. Grabbing a look at Marco Zappoli as he comes across the start-finish line, hops up into 10th. A good run for the number 12 machine. He goes further up the speed chart. Eddie Purcell looking on another flying lap. David Porcelli comes across the line for 15th. Dante Mikado gonna take the green flag for another lap as he currently sits in 21st, diving into the first chicane.
The very costly thing there about Adrian Falcon's lap time there was that he didn't get a lap in on the second attempt. He must have got an off track somewhere along the line because that didn't count in the end. It would have given him a good few more positions, actually, given how close the field is. He would have got a load more positions, but in the end he's going to be down in 14th. That's a disaster for him. However, we've seen him improve from this in the past. I think it was at Spa where he qualified right down the order. He managed to get himself comfortably inside the top 10 after starting last, so we know he can do it.
We definitely know Adrian Falcon has the speed to do it. We'll see when and if it'll come out in the race. Grabbing a look at the number 18 machine of Eddie Purcell, and he's going to give it a stop there in Sector 3. Not happy with that lap time. Jerome Lamy in the 17, looking to finish up his first flying lap here, and he goes a little bit wide coming out of that corner. If he did not get a 0x or a 1x, he can continue this lap. Looks like he's still good. Worked his way through turn 12. Almost going full lock on the steering wheel over to the left to save it coming out of turn 13. But he's able to keep the car under him. He'll go through the chicane of 14 and 15 and back onto the straightaway he goes. So you're on board with Jerome Lamy, grabbing a look at him as he finishes up his flying lap. We'll see where that puts him on the speed chart. We'll grab a quick break here on RaceSpotTV, and we'll come back with the starting grid here from Imola. Starting on the pole here from Virtual Imola is going to be Gabriel Bortoletto. What a time for that number 16 machine. Julio Almeida starts to his outside with Ralph Benitez in third, Matt Emery in fourth, Flavio Dantas rounding out that top five with Eddie Purcell completing the first three rows. Callum Voisin going to start in seventh, Felipe Dantas starts in eighth, Dario Agnello back there in ninth with Bart Dahlman starting in 10th. Marco Zappoli starting in 11th place, Thiago Spencer will start from 12th, Paulo Dreza in 13th, Adrian Falcon 14th, Ethan Mitchell rounds out the top 15 with David Porcelli, Andrea Fusini in 17th with Adria Salvi in 19th, or 18th, excuse me. Mark Van Dalen will be starting from 19th. Reese Saunders will be starting from 20th. Dennis Cornu starting in 21st. Dante Mikado in 22nd, the last driver to take time. And back from there, it's Connor Wagner, Jerome Lamy, Sergio Set Camara, Ben Cullen, and Tobias Olsen, rounding out 27 drivers ready to take the green flag here from Imola. Owen, I don't think it's surprising to say a lot of question marks coming into this round, but we got a lot of fast drivers and a lot of drivers trying to cut their way through the field when we go green.
Yeah, not a lot of space for them to do it in, really. Imola's a very tight circuit where you can't really overtake very easily, so it's going to be a very high-intensity race and a very interesting one. Hopefully a clean one, too.
Ready to go racing from Virtual Imola. New track to the Formula One circuit added back in 2020. Let's see how these drivers are going to race in the Dallara F3 machines. We are green for round 10. Everybody gets away well up in the front. Gabriel Bortoletto trying to hold on to the lead. They'll be side by side with Julio Almeida getting a run on the outside line down into turn number 1. They're both going to fight for real estate. Getting a nose out in front is going to be Bortoletto. He'll take the early lead. Emery in third. Benitez in fourth. Dantas goes to fifth as they all fight back from there. A couple of drivers too wide. That's going to be the battle for ninth as Dantas is on the outside. Diving up the inside goes Marco Zappoli. They touch wheels. Zappoli goes off. The number 12 machine off into the sand as they race towards the corner.
Yeah, oh, and there's another one off to the left-hand side as well, down in the background. It was bound to happen, I'm afraid, and we've seen a few casualties at the end of the day, but at the end, the top five here managed to, or the top four, excuse me, managed to keep their positions somewhat remarkably. Everything was very, very clean at the front and mostly clean at the back as well. A couple of cars go spinning off, which was expected, but it's still unfortunate. Thankfully, though, most of them have had a fairly clean start. Good battling as well, especially in the first chicane.
That was Reese Saunders that got spun around there going into turn number 7. Battle up front between Ralph Benitez trying to get around Matt Emery for that third spot. Closest battle up at the front of this field is this one for P3 as they work their way through the final chicane. They'll dump back onto the front straightaway, complete the first lap of 18 here today. One car going wide off the corner. Problems further back. It looked like Felipe Dantas might have gotten off track. He did. He made contact with the car behind him, and that sent both of them down the order. Dantas is going to go into the pit lane for damage repair. So one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, Felipe Dantas, falls to 24th. Might fall more positions as well as he is in the pit lane.
Yeah, it certainly is going to. I'm afraid it was bound to happen, and some of those in the back have got damaged. Dantas did show some very good pace in qualifying, especially early on. He was right inside the top 5, but gets this touch on the rear, and gets tagged again, spun around, and there's a fair amount of damage. And I'm afraid the 15 of Ethan Mitchell involved in a second incident only half a lap later.
Gets contact with David Porcelli. Looks like Mark Van Dalen also in this one. 3 cars all make contact going into the corner there. It started with those two. It was Ethan Mitchell and I believe Porcelli on his inside. And then there was nowhere for Mark Van Dalen to go. He gets caught up in this one as well. So a 3-car incident down in turn number 5. Handful of cars getting damaged going down the order. A handful of them coming into the pit lane. Felipe Dantas now exiting the pit lane. Agnello, Dahlman, Saunders also in the pit lane as a dive going through the chicane to make a pass. Here's the replay of that first lap incident. Reese Saunders making contact. Not sure who it was behind him, but that sent Saunders in the 24 off into the sand. End of his day. Contact made going through the chicane. Connor Wagner makes contact with Andrea Salvi. They made contact going down into the braking zone for turn 17. And that is, I believe, the 4th major incident on the track here in the first 2 laps. A lockup from cars in front, and there was the contact. Nowhere for Salvi to go. They were on the outside of the car on the inside, and the contact was made out, and right off they went.
Yeah, it's a very difficult braking zone down there into Ravanza, and you've got to get it slowed up. Unfortunately, the rear brake bias was just a little bit too far towards the rear, I'm afraid, and losing the rear, getting into the side of Salvi there was Connor Wagner, and that's a real shame for him, especially for Salvi, because he was a completely innocent bystander in that one. But it's what happens, these downhill braking zones, they're very, very tricky, and of course you're turning while braking for most of that braking zone as well, which makes it extra difficult.
Up front, cars still battling relatively close together as they work their way through the turn 11, 12, 13 area of this race course. You're taking a look now at Flavio Dantas there in the 3, then back from there, Eddie Purcell in the 18, Ralph Benitez, Adrian Falcon in this fight. Talk about Adrian Falcon. He started back in 14th. Remember his poor qualifying effort. He's looking at a pass on Ralph Benitez. Paulo Dreitze going to go by as well. Falcon up into P7 as they go side by side into the corner. Falcon going to go right on by both of them. Dreitze and Benitez now 2 teammates with Thiago Spencer, another teammate back there completing the top 10. They're going to have to try and get back around Adrian Falcon, but the one machine is on a mission, up 7 spots where he originally started the day, peeking his nose into the top 10.
Yeah, Falcon's been driving really, really well, and he's been avoiding the accidents of the early laps well. Now starting to flex his muscles with some overtakes and a little bit of pace as well. Working the back of Purcell at the moment, but wasn't able to get it done into turn 1. Yeah, just showing once again what a fantastic driver he is here, Adrian Falcon. So, fully hats off to him, really. Now he can really show what he's made of in terms of the pace that he wasn't quite able to show us in qualifying with that late off track.
Working their way out of turn number 7. You can see those 3 teammates. That's Dreitze, Benitez, and Spencer trying to work their way around Adrian Falcon, and they're also battling with each other. Last time by, Adrian Falcon, a 138.306, a 138.346 for Paulo Dreitze, a 140 flat for Ralph Benitez, and a 137.784 for Thiago Spencer. Even faster, a 137.184 coming out from Tobias Olsen down there in 11th. So Olsen's starting to catch up to this group as they work out of turn 15. Next car on the radar for Adrian Falcon is going to be Eddie Purcell in 6th, as they will fight their way back down the hill through turn 16 into 17 and 18. Make sure they don't go off track there. Not a lot of runoff area out of either turn 17 and 18 back onto the front straightaway. Falcon not able to put more cars behind him as he has not pulled away much from Dreitze and Benitez. This time by only about a handful of tenths quicker, a handful of 100s, I should say, quicker than Paulo Dreitze, Ralph Benitez, and Thiago Spencer behind.
Yeah, it's all starting to stack up behind now, really, with Falcon, which is rare to see, it has to be said, but it's very, very tricky to get through once you're at this point. You do need to have that little bit of extra pace. You can't just be matching the guy in front and hope to make a dive somewhere at Imola, really. You've got to have that little bit extra, and it doesn't look like Dreyer quite has that at the moment. Benitez is looking fairly strong. He's on the back of that number 6 car right now, and doing pretty well, applying pressure pretty well right now. But yeah, it's just a bit of a train, and this is what we expect to see. I was expecting to see it for the lead, actually. I was expecting to see it going on a lot further up the order, but in fact we've got trains going on outside of the top 5, which doesn't often happen, but around this kind of circuit.
Battle starting to close up a little bit further up the field, as well as Matt Emery still has a mirror full of Callum Voisin, who you're on board with now. Voisin with a great start to the day, up 3 spots from where he started. Get behind the wheel of that number 14 machine. Back onto the front straightaway they go, and trying to reel in Matt Emery in front of him, and Owen, it can become a bit of a challenge to start reeling in cars in front of you, because we talk about these race cars, they really can reach a bubble of air where that slipstream just kind of goes away and you lose any advantage. The slipstream will quickly become into dirty air that becomes very tough to handle in these F3 cars. That seems to be what Voisin is dealing with right now, as he's just trying to get up close to the back wing of the number 4 machine, as we go back to a battle with Sergio Set Camara trying to work his way further up the field.
Yeah, absolutely, getting himself into 12th place after not even setting a time in qualifying. Now knocking on the door of a top 10, he's just got past Jerome Lamy for 12th. Lamy's up 4 himself, so God knows how many setting cameras up at this point. He's on the back of Spencer and Olsen at the moment, is the Formula E driver, so he'll be looking to make his way inside the top 10, and there's no reason to suggest that he can't get in there, and he probably won't need the rest of the race to do it either. He'll be there in, well, probably by lap 10, to be honest. He'll be ahead of these guys. He looks very pacey.
Trying to work his way just ever so further up and trying to punch his way into the top 10 as he is on that battle for 10th graphic. You can see bottom right of your screen, Thiago Spencer currently holds the 10th spot in the 10 machine. Tobias Olsen in 11th. There's Sergio Set Camara right on that back wing of the 27 Olsen. Lamy sitting in 13th. As they'll run down the hill to turn 16, dive to the bottom for Sergio Set Camara. They tag wheels a little bit. Olsen gonna fall into 12th. Set Camara goes up to 11th. An aggressive move that paid off for the 20.
Yeah, props to Olsen as well for giving him the room into Ravazza that could have easily turned in and caused a bit of an accident for both of you there, but Tobias Olsen gave him the space and allowed the two to race very nicely indeed. It has exposed him to Lamy, though, who's giving him a hard time into turn 1, but wasn't able to get through in the end. Yeah, respectful driving between the both of them, and that's what we like to see. Lamy getting another run, though, into the next couple of corners. Is he going to hang it around the outside here for the inside next corner? Yes, he is, and it looks like he's going to be able to hold on to 12, although maybe not as they go into the hairpin.
Still side by side into turn 7. Issue further back for Eddie Purcell. Gets up on one of the inside turtle curbs and went off track. Lost a handful of positions, but trying to keep up with Jerome Lamy as Tobias Olsen. Lamy tried to cover off that spot. He was only barely clear as Olsen went a little bit off track. They'll continue to fight for P12 as they run their way through turns 11, 12, back up the hill through 13. And they'll go into the tight chicane, 14 and 15. Olsen looking to catch up. Last time by a 137.7 for Olsen, a 137.262 for Jerome Lamy. So the 17 starting to find a bit of speed, but Sergio Set Camara with a 136.380 last time by, about 3/10 quicker than Thiago Spencer. Set Camara is looking for that top 10, has a marker on Thiago Spencer, looking to get by for the 10th spot.
Yeah, he's maybe a little bit too far back for a move into turn 1 on this occasion, but he's certainly starting to apply the pressure to Tiago Spencer. Maybe there is going to be a move here. It's a fairly long, flat-out section. Even if it's not straight, you get a lot of slipstream and maybe a dive. Sete Camera later on the brakes, just more confidence there. Just have more confidence to go later on the brakes and deeper into the braking zone. No chance for Spencer to even do anything about that, really. So Sete Camera inside the top 10 and not even half the race gone yet.
Owen, I like what you said about the confidence to late break into these corners. The confidence comes in sim racing, of course, with experience and with time in the car. Do you think also his real-life racing experience is adding to that confidence that he sort of already knows what the car is going to do under those hard braking zones?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, but also the fact that he is a real-life driver. He's been in Formula E, Formula 2, Formula 3, as you mentioned, and, you know, you don't get to be in those series being a complete novice. So, you know, he's a very fast driver indeed. So, yeah, there's no doubt about the real-life experience helping, but also just the natural raw talent is playing a huge role as well.
So Sete Camara going to continue to try and climb up the board. Ralph Benitez, Adrian Falcon side by side as they go into turn 17. Benitez going to be able to take back that spot from Adrian Falcon. Falcon going to lose a spot for the first time in a handful of laps, and it looked like it came from the chicane of 14 and 15. A little bit of a bobble from Adrian Falcon. That led Benitez to close that gap up and be able to make that move down into turn 17. How long is Falcon going to sit behind Ralph Benitez? How badly does he want that 6th spot back? He's going to stay in 7th for the moment, but as they race down into turn number 5, I don't think this battle is over just yet, Owen.
No, it's definitely not over yet, but it's just worth biding your time here if you're Adrian Falcon and just not trying to make a rash move straight away again. This is a fair, well, it's not a long race, but there is a little bit of time here for him to, you know, just bide his time and try and get through again. If he is looking at a top 5 and looking to try and get past Fabio Dantas again, then maybe he does need to make the move in the next 1 or 2 laps. But if he's just consolidating, getting good solid points from this race, then there's no reason why he can't just bide his time and wait here just a little bit, because Ralph Benitez is not exactly going to slow him up here. He's a fast driver himself, won at Montreal, so you know it's not the worst thing in the world to be sat behind him for a lap or 2.
Running, oh, spin in the back. Eddie Purcell is going to go spinning in turn 14. He'll try and merge back onto the racing course, but it looked like a harsh mistake under the braking zone for Eddie Purcell that led him to get up onto the curb a little bit too much and spin himself around. He'll join back in 14th, right behind Adria Fusini. Up in the lead, still Bortoletto leading the way by about 1.5 seconds. He still has the fastest lap side by side. Adrian Falcon trying to get back by Ralph Benitez. That's Paulo Dreza trying to get around Adrian Falcon. Falcon starting to fall off the pace a little bit here, Owen. Uncharacteristic. He's now got a mirror full of Paulo Dreza all over his back wing.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic and unsure as to why, whether he's picked up a bit of floor damage or wing damage bouncing over one of these curves, because there are a lot of them around here. They may damage your car if you just hit them in the wrong way. You could lose a bit of pace because of it, so maybe that's playing a factor. Maybe there is some damage because, yeah, it's very uncharacteristic for him to just lose pace completely on his own. And so yeah, we'll have to wait and see really whether this continues or whether he can pick back up again. But Dreyter is certainly applying the pressure, and then after this, you know, all the way down to 12, all the way down to Olsen, you know, you could get them in one camera shot right here. So he's got a lot of defending to do if indeed he is wailing right now and he is damaged maybe a little bit.
Falcon going to try and hold on to P7. Last time by 5/10 quicker was the lap time from Paulo Dreyta there in 8th. Adrian Falcon trying to hold on from 7th. ran about 5/10 slower. Their best laps as well. Drayta a little bit faster than Adrian Falcon. We'll see if he can race on by, as we are over halfway done with this race. 8 to go now, as the leader Gabriel Bortoleto came across the line. Here comes, stepping out is Paulo Drayta. He'll get a nose out in front of Adrian Falcon. Is he able to cover off the spot? Yes, he is. He goes right on around before the braking zone of turn 2. And to the 7th spot goes Paulo Drayta. Back to 8th goes Adrian Falcon. Adrian Fusini goes around Eddie Purcell, or stays around Eddie Purcell, I should say. He'll stay in the 13th spot. Adrian Falcon now trying to rebound and get back by Paulo Drayta. Here comes Sergio Set Camara now to join this battle. Set Camara was able to get around Thiago Spencer for 9th. He continues to march up through the field. Remember, he did not take time in qualifying, up 16 spots from where he originally started the race. So he is looking very stout here, looking for more spots in the top 10. He sees 2 ahead of him, Adrian Falcon and Paulo Drayta, but we know those 2 very aggressive in the way they race. So Set Camara is going to need to be smart about it. He races them, but Adrian Falcon gets a little loose off the exit of 15.
Yeah, they are all going to have to be smart, really, in how they race each other at this point. But Seti Camara was over a second quicker than the both of them on the last lap. He's very, very quick indeed. And I believe matching the leaders at 35.5 for Bortoleto over the last time, at a 35.6 for Seti Camara. So you just wonder what he could have done if he had indeed put a lap in qualifying and got himself up towards the pointy end. Maybe it would have been a better result for him, but he's certainly enjoying flying through the field right now. And here are 2 drivers we haven't spoken about almost at all. Matt Emery and Callum Boyson battling over the final podium spot right now. We've barely seen them the entire season, really, in the F3 Championship. And now finally, at round 10, they're knocking on the door of a podium. We've not seen much of the top 4 at all. And they've been absolutely magical in round 10 all of a sudden. It's a bit weird, it has to have to say, but yeah, just finding their feet at Imola, no doubt, and getting themselves, well, 3 of them are going to get themselves on the podium.
Impressive drives from Emery and Boyson as we continue to run here from Imola. Something else that is impressive, pointed out in the chat room, Ewan, Ben Cullen, typing in the chat room and driving at the same time. We thank Ben for his contributions to our chat room, and he's still running fairly good on the racetrack. 18th, had a bit of a spin, or gone off track a little bit earlier, I should say, but still up 8 spots from where he started the day back in 26. So typing and driving at the same time, apparently not that big of a deal for Ben Cullen.
No, apparently not. That must mean he's listening. He might be listening to us at the same time, which might be even worse in terms of distraction. But I have known people listen to the commentary for strategic reasons in these races. But obviously, there's no strategy in these races, so I don't know why you'd do that. But either way, it is very impressive, especially at Imola, given that there's literally no straights at all. So yeah, it must be driving with one hand for half the lap or something. I don't know.
Maybe he just wants to hear our lovely voices here on RaceSpotTV. How about that one? Working up in the lead, Gabriel Bortoleto still holds it, and trying to catch up is Sulio Almeida. Able to gain about a half a second on Gabriel Bortoleto, who currently leads the way. Just not able to get within striking distance to battle for the race lead. Closest battle up here at the front is between Emery and Voisin, right now separated by about a half a second as they race up the hill, going down through turn number 9 and 10. Emery trying to defend all he can. Last time by, Emery about a 10th faster than Callum Voisin, but don't count the 14 of Voisin out just yet. He's getting close, but needs to pull, I think, Ewan, what Sergio Set Camara was doing. Break a little bit later, open the door yourself, and make that move going down into one of the harsh braking zones. Turn 17 comes to mind, turn 2, maybe even turn 7 if you're lucky.
Yeah, turn 2 probably the most obvious one, but it's easier said than done. Certainly, you do have to have that confidence, and it didn't look like he had much of it going into 17 there, actually. Just went a little bit wide, and that's one of the things as well. Through Ravazza, you do need to be strong through there. You need to follow closely, and that's one of the difficulties as well, especially the second part of that, the final corner on the racetrack. You've got to stay close, but it's a medium-speed corner. these cars don't follow well, really, through the medium and high-speed corners that we do see, so that might be a little bit tricky for him. As we've seen before, though, it can be done with that little bit of confidence on the brakes. As I said, it's easier said than done, but it's really the only way you're going to manage it around here.
Inside now, 5 laps to go from Imola. Eddie Purcell fighting from 14th. He is looking to try and get around, or looking to try and keep back Marco Zappoli, who sits in 15th. They're looking at the battle for 14th on board with Zappoli as they go into turn number 5. Through the chicane, right out they go, and you can see Adria Fusini up ahead, and Eddie Purcell going a little bit farther off the track there in the runoff area than Marco Zappoli. Doesn't look to be hurting him too much, Ewan, and it looks like he's able to get some good runs off of the corner, but you got to be careful with it. There is a fine line between the runoff area here at Imola and the grass. You need to be careful, as well as the curbs. They can hike up these cars with their low suspensions.
Yeah, absolutely. They do need to be careful about pushing the limits, because you do need to extract every bit of performance, but you also need to make sure you're on the right side of a spin, let's say. So, yeah, Zappoli's going to fancy his chances here, I would say, because let's not forget Eddie Purcell had that spin around this point in the racetrack a few laps ago. So his tyres are going to be feeling the effects of that. They're going to be recovering from that, and so he's going to try and take advantage maybe into Ravazza a little bit later on the brakes. Purcell gives him the room, and into the final corner, Zappoli is going to get down the inside and shut the door on the exit as well. So thank you very much, and that's a position, but I have a feeling Purcell might come back at him into the first chicane.
Comment over the voice chat from Eddie Purcell. What was that, mate? I don't think he's happy with that one, right on the back wing, but blocking him down into the corner goes Zappoli. He'll keep the door shut, and they will stay where they are. Zappoli stays 14th. Purcell stays 15th. Is it going to change as they race down into turn 5? 4 laps to go here from Imola, fighting for P14. Diving into turn 5. It looks like now a little bit of clean air. Zappoli going to start to pull away from Purcell. And here comes David Porcelli now, trying to fight for a top 15. He's looking to chase up to Purcell as they race out of turn 7 up through turn 8.
I've got to say, I didn't see anything wrong with that move from Zappoli into the Ravazza turn there. Purcell was giving him some stick over the radio, but I can't say I saw anything wrong with it. It was just a late move on the brakes. Purcell could have been a little bit more forceful there and squeezed him, certainly, if not shutting the door entirely. He could have squeezed him and gave him a lot of room. It might have been a little bit fearful of an accident, because when you do go down the inside there, it can get a little bit icy. Let's say, and you can go deep under brakes, it can cause an accident, so maybe he was trying to preempt that, but in the end he didn't need to give him that much room, and that's how he's ended up losing the position. In any case, he's not quite got the pace of Zappoli anyway, and so he's been left to battle with David Porcelli now over 15th position, so we'll see how the battle turns out this time, but he definitely doesn't have the pace of the 12 just in front.
3 laps to go now as Gabriel Bortoletto puts another one behind him. Your race leader working his way up through turn 8, now into turn number 9. What a day for the 16. Started on the pole, able to block off second place in Sulio Almeida down into turn number 1, and has kept that lead ever since. And you can see Almeida hasn't let him get away too much. The gap is about 9/10 where we currently stand, but Ewan not close enough to be able to make a move, and it looking like a walk-off victory for Gabriel Bortoletto, starting on the pole and grabbing the win here at Imola, but things can change. It'll be 2 to go at the line.
Yeah, things can change very quickly, and it's not over by any means yet. The gap at its largest was 2 seconds in this race. Almeida has been slowly pulling it back, though, and he's continuing to do so. 2/10 of a second he took out of Bortoletto last time around. We'll have another look at the lap times when they come over the line in a few moments' time to see. I think they're going to be pretty much identical. A 35.5 for Bortoletto, actually. A 35.3 from Almeida, so he did gain another 2/10 on that occasion, but 2/10 of a second is not going to be enough at this stage, because that's only going to put him half a second back by the end of the race, and that is not close enough. You really do need to be right on the gearbox of the car in front to even have a look in, but you've got to commend both of them, really. The way they've run away from the rest of the field just demonstrates the pace that they've had in this race. They've been in a complete class of their own.
Class of their own indeed, as they work out of turn 7, back up the hill through 8 with 2 laps to go. Field starting to space out quite a bit. Closest battle looks to be still Purcell and Porcelli, who we're catching up with now. Purcell still staying in 15th. Porcelli looking to go up into the top 15 for the first time tonight. Porcelli started in 16th and is now here in 16th to finish the race. If he can catch up to Purcell, it'll be the only spot he'll pick up on the day. It'll put Purcell 10 spots down from where he started up in P6. So not the best day for the 18 of Purcell here in Imola, but a lot of drivers having some good days. Biggest movers out there on the track. How about Sergio Setkamara up 16? How about Jerome Lamy up 13? How about Tobias Olsen up 15 spots from where they started the day? They're looking at some good finishes in Imola. The white flag is out. One final lap as Gabriel Bortoleto goes right on by the start-finish line. And we will see how many spots the remaining drivers can pick up on the racetrack as we have 1 to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't look like there's too many positional changes likely to happen at this point, especially at the front of the field with Bortoleto and Almeida. But it's going to be very, very impressive here once again from these debut winners. Well, not debut winners. It makes it sound like it's their first race in the series. It's the first time I recall Bortoleto being anywhere up towards the front. Same with all of the top 4, but yeah, we've seen a lot of the usual suspects through the mid part of this season, the likes of Adrian Falcon, Flavio Dantas, etc. But over the last 3 weeks, we've seen drivers winning for the first time this season, and yeah, it's fantastic to see. Thoroughly deserved for Bortoleto as well if he can hold on through these final few corners.
Working his way back to the start-finish line as he exits out of turn 15. Down the hill through 16. Any last-minute moves as further back. Contact made. Eddie Purcell, Jerome Lamy make contact. Purcell off the track. Huge damage for the 18. We'll try and grab a look at that replay in a moment, but on the front straightaway, celebration begins for the 16 of Gabriel Bortoleto. He's going to go to victory lane in Italy.
Fantastic race for Bortoleto. Almeida pushing him all the way. A great race between the two of them, but it wasn't quite enough for Almeida in the end. Dreas is going to come home 7th, just ahead of Adrian Falcon, who's going to be disappointed to lose points to Flavio Dantas in this one. The number 3 car extending his championship lead today.
And contact made further back. We'll see if we can get a replay here in just a moment, but what looked like ended up happening was Jerome Lamy going wide in the 17, comes back onto the track. There you can see Lamy off track, comes back on and makes contact with Purcell. Unfortunate for the 18, nothing he could do there. And Lamy just came back on the track at the worst possible time, made contact also with David Porcelli. And they came across the line still to finish the race. Full race results now up on your screen after 18 laps of racing here from virtual Imola. It's Gabriel Bortoleto that is going to walk away your race winner. Sulio Almeida in 2nd, Matt Emery 3rd, Callum Boyson in 4th with Flavio Dantas rounding out your top 5. Ralph Benitez in 6th, Paulo Dreta in 7th, Adrian Falcon 8th, Sergio Setkamara in 9th with Thiago Spencer rounding out your top 10. Back from there, Tobias Olsen will come home 11th, Adria Fusini in 12th, Marco Zappoli 13th, Jerome Lamy in 14th with Eddie Purcell. That rounds out your top 15. David Porcelli in 16th, Dante Mercado in 17th, Ben Cullen comes home 18th, Dennis Cornu in 19th with Mark Van Dalen finishing up your top 20. Back on from there, the rest of your finishing order: Adria Salvi in 21st, Felipe Dantas 22nd, Ethan Mitchell 23rd, Reese Saunders 24th with Dario Agnello rounding out the top 25, Connor Wagner 26th with Bart Daleman rounding out the entire 27 car grid that took the green flag here from Imola. So, Ewan, I don't think we were expecting much else from Imola. A lot of chaos to start, and it ended the race with chaos as well. But we saw some good battles and a first-time on-broadcast winner for Gabriel Bortoleto here this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Another first-time winner and another Brazilian winner. They've seemed pretty good at this. They seem pretty good at the F3 Championship. They've won half of the races now. We've had 10 races and they've won 5 of them. Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, there was some good racing in there. There was some crashing, but we expected that, especially from Imola here. It's a poor rejoin from Lamy in the end, I have to say, but Purcell didn't do himself any favours with a poor rejoin himself after his incident in the same vein. So, there was some little bit shoddy driving here and there. There was some crashes, which is expected at Imola, but it was mostly fantastic driving, mostly fantastic battling as well, and mostly enjoyable racing, which is what we come for.
Well, I hope you'll join us in 1 week's time from iRacing's newest road course at the Red Bull Ring when we go racing for the next round of the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. For Ewan O'Leary joining me here in the booth, for Hugo Louise down in the virtual production trailer, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you so much for joining us here from virtual Imola, and we will see you in 1 week's time from virtual Red Bull Ring as the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship continues to round 11.